What is up, everyone? Welcome to Reality Room Spoilers with Paul, bringing you the latest on Big Brother Canada 5 Live Feeds. Okay, guys, a lot of stuff to talk about today. I'm going to slide through the early stuff pretty quickly because we already kind of know what happened with the whole nomination ceremony. So basically, Netta Netta wins HOH. She basically decides that she wants to target Cass this week because she's been kind of saying a lot of stuff lately about trying to get like Bruno out, trying to get Ned out later on, and even before the feed, she was talking about that. So that's basically what she decides to do. And she also wants to put up someone that she feels that Cass is close to on the block, and that happens to be Jackie, although they're not close anymore, obviously, but at the time they were. So that's basically what the decision was. So the two people on the block are Cass and Jackie. Okay, so following the nomination ceremonies, which is when we're going to start getting to the meat of everything, Ned is in the HOH room with Cindy and Ika, and Ika starts getting like a little pissy. I think Karen was there as well. A little pissy. Karen was talking about how she was going to vote Cass out because she feel like she ruined her game and whatnot. But Ika was just like sitting there listening to like Netta talk bad about Cass, and Ika eventually Netta like asked Ika, like, because she was being quiet the whole time. She's like, "You think I made the right decision, right?" And Ika's like, "Well, it's your HOH. You do what you want to do." And I'm just sitting there like, boy. And Netta's like getting all defensive, like, you know what? Like she ends up storming out of the room like a minute after because they have like a little argument for like a minute. Netta storms out, starts complaining to Bruno and Kevin, and Ika starts explaining her situation to Cindy. Cindy's very like a very receptive house guest, so she, probably easy to talk to, but. Yeah, so she was just like listening in on Ika's woes, and Cindy was like, "Oh, this is probably what Ned is feeling. This is what you're feeling." And Ika's like, basically, Ika's point was that she kind of knows that Ned made a deal with Dylan and Emily, which basically means in her head that Dylan and Emily, if they win HOH, would go after Ika, which is true. So. I mean, it is true, but again, it's also Netta's HOH. But then Netta's like, "Oh, it's for the alliance." She's like talking to Bruno and Kevin. She's like, "Oh, I did everything for the alliance. That's what you have to do in an alliance." I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." I don't know. All I know. Oh, and also before the nominations, Netta, Bruno, Kevin, Emily, and Dylan do make an alliance. So. Ika's feeling on the outs, kinda, even though she's still in. It's a very bizarre situation for Ika right now, but she feels like she's probably on the outs and she's like scared or whatever. But she was okay with going after Cass like early last week, for instance. So Netta probably thought that was still okay, but apparently it's not, and Ika's mad. But Cass is obviously going fucking crazy. She's talking to like everyone in the house, trying to make sure she has her vote and whatnot. Talking to Dre and William or whatever, and I think those might be as of right now, those might be the only votes she could get. I mean, she probably would help. That probably would try to sway other people in the house because everyone else seems to want to vote out Cass right now. But we'll get to that. Yeah. So Cass is talking to everyone around the house, talking to she's talking to Dre and William. I think she tried talking to Karen. And yeah, it's not looking good for Cass. Okay, it's not looking good for Cass this week. I'll be very, very blunt with that. It's not looking good for Cass. Jackie, on the other hand, looking good for her. Apparently, Jackie made up with Karen this week, which was good timing on her part, although she was also I think she was on a block already kind of knew she was going on the block when the conversation happened. So how legit it was, I don't know. But Jackie seemed to apologize to Karen for X, Y, and Z, saying that Cass put stuff in her head about Karen, which kind of true. to an extent and kind of not true to an extent. You know, everything's like a little gray area, but Cass definitely kind of exploited that a little bit. So Jackie's mad at Cass because apparently, well, obviously she wants her home rather than herself. So you know what? I won't even get into that too much. Okay, so let's jump into so basically what happened between Ica and Demetrius. So Ica and Demetrius, you know, they're close, obviously. I believe Demetrius does not want to vote to keep Cassandra. So if Demetrius doesn't, I keep calling him Demetrius. It's Dimitri doesn't want to vote to keep Cassandra, and Ica basically, because the numbers aren't there, even though it's better for her game if she stays. In her opinion, I don't know if that's true, but in her opinion, it is. She's not going to vote for her because she doesn't have the numbers. So, and Gary is basically thinking the same thing. So they would need 6 votes this week to make it happen. It would to get Cass to stay, and the 6 in their head right now are Dre, William, Gary, who also said he would use the veto on Cass, but that if he was playing in the veto, which spoiler he's not, but that quickly changed when he found out that the numbers weren't there anyway. So yeah, Gary, who's the other one? I know, right, Ica, Dimitri, and Karen if they can flip her, but it doesn't look like, but Dimitri doesn't want to keep her, and Karen kind of doesn't want to keep her either, although there's kind of been talks that she knows that Netta and that group, Bruno and Kevin, are running the show right now, but I don't know if she would flip. So as of right now, she hasn't flipped. So as of right now, Cass is going home, basically, unless someone wins the veto. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so the play, I guess we'll talk about have-nots too while we're at it. So the have-nots this week were, I believe it was Cassandra was picked again, which is interesting. Bruno, William, and Dimitri, I believe, were the 4 have-nots. Now let's go into who was picked for the veto. Actually, fuck, who was picked for the veto? 1 second. I know who won the veto. Let's see. Okay, I don't remember who was picked for the veto, but I do know who won the veto, so I guess that's what fucking counts, right, guys? Okay, so the person who won the veto was William. So William wins the veto, which is very big because there's a possibility that he can do a big move in this situation and take Cass off the block. But that's probably not the best move for him right now. And let me explain why. You already know why. But if William was to take Cass off the block, it's very likely that Dre would be like the replacement nom or something along those lines. Now, you could make the argument, or Gary for that matter as well. Now, you could make the argument that having Dre on the block would be an easier save than Cass, which I would probably agree with you there on. But then Dre's in danger, and that's William's best ally. Because that's almost, in my mind, if William was to use a veto, like that would be the best way, preventative measure for him not to use the veto. You're like, yeah, if you use the veto, I'm putting up your fucking biggest ally. GG, bye-bye. So that's probably what Netta would do. We haven't seen too much Netta talk after the feeds came back on, because it was like a 6-hour veto. Like it was crazy. Like I literally went out when the feeds were off, and I came back in, and like 6-7 hours later, and the feeds weren't back yet. I was like, all right, guess I'll wait. So yeah, that's basically what happens with that. So William does win the veto. Cass is literally talking to him as we speak right now about trying to convince him to use the veto on her. But again, as we talked about, that's probably not the best move for him. So it's very much edging towards Cassandra leaving this week. We've also had some interesting thing with Dre and William pulling a prank on Kevin. I'm only mentioning this because that's what I was watching while waiting for the conversation between William and Cass to happen. Dre was like giving Kevin like a massage or whatever, and he had like his blindfold on, and you had William literally switch in like halfway in, and then it was just without Kevin knowing. It was just really funny. All right, so yeah, so Cass pretty much needs a miracle to stay this week. And maybe she'll get a miracle. I don't know. Big Brother Canada likes to do twist a lot, like these crazy twists. They didn't really do it in BBCAN 4 too much, but I know in BBCAN 3 they like to pull out like these big things. So we'll see what happens with that. But as of right now, Cass is going home, and the vote is it's probably going to be a unanimous vote unless unless they do believe that they swayed people. But even as of right now, Gary and Ika aren't even voting for Cass to stay. So they know where everything is right now, and they're even trying to work with the other side again, just to, because they'll be in a bad situation basically with their allies. So they'll be forced to do that. All right, so I guess we'll end it there. So my prediction is Cass leaves. William does not use the veto. Of course, something else could have been happening with that William and Cass conversation, but Big Brother Canada blocked the feed, because they always block the feed during the important conversation. So color me this as a viewer. I was watching this conversation between William and Cass was trying to work William basically. Like saying like, oh, I mean, William was like, oh, they kind of see me as a kid. I don't want them to see me as a kid. And Cass is like, oh, well, the way to do that is to make like a big move, which is like her way of trying to say, use a veto on me, please. She was also trying to fake cry to him. I don't think that ended up working. But yeah. And then they switched the feed over to Dre talking to like, I don't even remember. I think it was to Gary, and they were like whispering. And while William was talking to Cassandra, like literally they switched the feed at like the most important conversation right now that you could have been watching as a feedster is fucking William talking to Cassandra, and they switched the feed over to Dre whispering to Gary about nothing. And then 10 seconds later, they shut the feed off completely. I'm just sitting there like I was sitting there for like an hour waiting for that one conversation. And of course they shut it down on me. God damn it. All right. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Not a lot of updates there, but it's looking like it's going to be a pretty simple week unless Cass pulls a miracle, which is possible. She's done it before. All right, so thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below for more updates. Till next time, peace.